there would be no retreat, and I'm having trouble figuring out what is tough to interpret on illegal immigration. Illegal. It is illegal. And in Arizona, by the way, it didn't just become, it wasn't so much just the debate on immigration policy and reform that the government's not doing. It's become an issue of public safety. And by the way, with Arizona tightening, I think we're going to have more of a problem right now because they mean business. So you'll have a governor and me that says to the federal government, we mean business too. Now that said, let me say again, here's another great area of clear distinction. You can look at Hickenlooper, and when you look at Hickenlooper, think of open borders. When you look at Hickenlooper, think of sanctuary cities. When you look at the Hickenlooper, you think of those words that we're getting tired of hearing. What's politically correct? We've got to stand for our rights and stand for the privileges of being citizens in the United States of America.
Well, the congressman is now the cheerleader, but did you hear an answer? Did you hear a strategy? What is he going to do something about illegal immigration? If Arizona law came across his desk, if it came across his desk, he would sign it. I think I heard him say that. Okay? What are we going to do right now? What have I been talking about since last August? And they want to keep throwing the word around amnesty. You see, now that we're making progress in this campaign, they're trying to put labels on me. And they're trying to trick you with the word amnesty, which I never discussed or supported. Never. Number one, we implement E-Verify and we do it right away. Number two, we enforce Senate Bill 90, which is kind of Arizona light. Did you know we already had a law like that? It was implemented 4 years ago, but Ritter nor Hickenlooper has the courage to do anything about it. I do. I was a police officer for 2 years. I arrested illegal aliens on trains. I arrested them, I put them in jail, I called immigration. If I did it in the past, I'll do it for you again. That's number two. Number three, we enforce verifiable documentation. It's another law that's already on our books. That means when someone comes to our social service system, they better have a legitimate identification on them, and if they don't, we send them away. See, these are things we could be doing right now. So I'm not saying if someone were to put something in front of me, I'm saying if I was your governor, I'd be doing that right now because the tools and the laws are already there.
Okay, folks, I'd like to move into direct questions from the audience here, and I've been breaking them out into groupings here. So Dan, to you, this is a minute answer, okay? The timer would set the time to that. And I'm going to try and keep this very as straightforward as I can. I think that we have a number of questions about employee unions and public unions. So what do you think that you would do to control the growth of public unions in Colorado?
Okay. I think the congressman and I could race each other to send the state union out on day one. That's step number one. Bill Ritter signed it in. We sign it right back out. The second thing we do, as I mentioned earlier, is I don't have any baggage with the unions. So we can sit down, we can get to know each other, and I come in clean, and I sit with the teachers union. I know you all want to wave the wand and make that one go away. Wouldn't I too? So what we have to do is create parallel paths. We have to create like charter schools when it comes to teachers where they can go to work in a charter school and not be beholden to the union. We have to disarm the union. We can't fight them and beat them down. We have to create alternative paths to pull people away from the unions, in my opinion. And coming from the private sector, I know you have to create an environment that makes people feel like they don't need the union. As long as they feel like they need it, they're going to be strong. We have to create an environment where they go, maybe we don't need the union anymore. And I'd like to do that for you.
Well, good luck sitting down with the teachers union, and good luck sitting down with the FL-CIO, and good luck in saying we're going to have parallel paths. You got to have a governor that sits down and says, look, the employment workforce is absolutely critical for our state. We need to have fair labor laws, which we have. But going and unionizing state agencies, that did nothing but create problems between with the labor force and the state. They didn't even want it. Going to those teachers' unions and saying, well, let's sit down and talk kumbaya law, it ain't going to work. When it comes to tenure, they're going to have a head-on collision, and this is the governor that's going to give it to them.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to another question. And we have a number of questions up here pertaining to the Second Amendment. So Scott, I'm just going to ask you and Dan, what's your position on the Second Amendment, and do you think it's a personal right?
Absolutely. I've got, fortunately, we have voting record. Well, I'm the only one in the race that's got a voting record. It's a conservative voting record. It's not just talk the talk, it's walk the walk. And on the Second Amendment, it's years and years, 100%. I'm fully in support of the Second Amendment. The big cases right now, we had the Washington case last year, which addressed exactly, but they said on that particular case, it was unique because it was Washington, D.C., which is kind of a unit of its own, kind of para-government, quasi-government. So now the case in front of the court is the Chicago case. And that decision should come down here in a few months. That's a very critical case. But again, big difference between the Republican view on this point and where Hickenlooper's going to be. Watch out for your gun rights if we don't beat Hickenlooper. He'll make a frontal assault on it, and they're coming after our Second Amendment rights.
We have one reason only to possess guns, and it's called the Second Amendment. We don't need to make excuses. We don't need to say we're hunters. We don't need to say we're shooters. We don't need to say whatever that excuse is. The Second Amendment gives us the personal right to possess guns. I sleep with 2 hunting rifles and a shotgun under the bed. And it makes my wife a little uncomfortable, but they're the easiest place to put them. I have been hunting since I was 12 years old. I've been shooting since I was a kid. I don't go to the ranges. I'm not that kind of shooter. But, if you want to do it, you want to hold those guns, you want to have concealed carry permits, the Second Amendment gives you that right to do so, and I will defend that for you.
What steps would you take to try and balance the state's budget, given that we're going to be going into what appears to be a deficit situation next year? What would you try and do to get us back on the balanced situation?
When an executive comes into a struggling situation, they don't think twice. They don't have to get a blue ribbon commission together to tell them when to go to the bathroom. They walk in and they say, each department head, come to me and show me where you're going to cut X percent. Department of Health and Human Services, I want 7% gone. Department of Corrections, I want 3% gone. Maybe Department of Corrections, we don't touch at all. But we go in as an executive and we say, cut here, cut here, cut here. Bill Ritter added 4,000 state employees to the payroll in the last 3.5 years. He goes, oh, no, I only added 600 to the executive branch. Well, I will start in the executive branch. And if there's too many people with $150,000 to $200,000 salaries sitting in the executive branch. We executives don't think twice about it. We just make the cuts happen. And then we also, but there might have to be some cuts to K through 12. We may have to make some tough decisions. Again, I've done that before for a long time.